So, in this presentation, I will share my knowledge of key themes that were discussed in the course, reflect on how I can improve in my own practice based on what I learned in the seminar, discuss my plan moving forward, talk about the benefits of feed forward assessment, reflect on how I can use systems of communication to support student learning, talk about power imbalance, making room for student voices, provide research based reflection, which is going to be usage of reading assigned in the seminar. So, this is what my assessment looks like. So, before attending the seminar, um, um, my assessment is on the left side. So the outcome that I am covering in this assessment map is explore classical Mendelian and current chromosomal understanding of biological inheritance. It's GB1 is the outcome name. So as you can see, for my assessment map that I have indicators from the outcomes that I would like my students to cover, which is on the left hand side of the table. So, which is a history of Gregor Mendel, Punnett squares, non-Mendelian genetics, pedigree analysis, meiosis and genetic variation, non-disjunction karyotyping. So before the seminar, I feel that I focused more on my favorite topics. So, for example, you can see for Punnett squares, there's a lot of assessments on Punnett squares. There's a gizmo activity that students will be doing, exit slip, hands-on activity, and hand-in assignment, and they're assessed again on the test. So they're being overly assessed on just one area. However, when you look at pedigree analysis, I haven't assessed students a lot in that area. So after watching the video that was assigned for homework and attending STF seminar, on the right, I have my new version of the assessment map. So I'm covering the same topic, but this time my assessments are more spread out. For example, I'm using a video response questionnaire to cover the history of Gregor Mendel. So where students will watch a video about history of genetics and why Gregor Mendel is called father of genetics and answer questions following that video. And then they will learn about Punnett squares and they will use interactive gizmos activity to show their learning. And for non-Mendelian genetics, I will have them work on hands-on activity. And for pedigree analysis, they will have exit slip where there will be like 3 multiple choice questions they will be answering. And for mitosis and meiosis and genetic variation, I will have students, do a little exit slip for that as well. And for non-disjunction and karyotyping part of the assessment, I will have students do a hands-on activity as well. And once everything is covered, they will do a test in the end. So I am going to show my Blackboard slide. So I have created some artifacts using Blackboard. So I'm just going to share that in my presentation. So this is something I have created after listening to, after attending STF seminar. So this is what my GB1 outcome will look like. So students, just before I go into going through Blackboard, I just want to tell you that next year in September, I will be teaching online. So Bio 30 is one of the courses that I will be teaching online. So the teaching will be asynchronous. So everything will be on there and I will be checking students on weekly basis regarding their learning. So this is something that I have produced after attending the seminar. So for example, when I'm teaching the outcome GB1, I will begin by going over mitosis and meiosis because that's the previous knowledge that students need to gain or understand before we get into Mendelian or non-Mendelian genetics. So something that they have already learned in grade 9. However, there are 2 years before, 2 years have already passed before they get on to take grade 12 level biology. So they need a little refresher about mitosis and meiosis before we dig deeper into Mendelian and non-Mendelian genetics. So I will have students watch the video about mitosis, and then have them watch video about meiosis. What are the different stages of meiosis? Give them introduction um, about haploid gametes, how egg and sperm they combine to form diploid zygote, and then going over meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. And after my students are done watching meiosis 1 and meiosis 2, I'll have them read notes upon it. So when they have grasped the concept really well, I will have them present their learning in a most creative way. So, for example, I will have them make a simulation of mitosis and meiosis. So this video right here shows how they can use beads to show the different stages of mitosis and meiosis. They can show how chromosome they duplicate, and then they separate during the stages of mitosis and meiosis, and so on. So they will make a simulation, and I will give them an idea of how to make a simulation. So this video will be showing them how they can make a simulation, and basically explain every single step in their own words, and they have something hands-on to do. And there are little questions that they will be answering, or this after they are done learning about mitosis and meiosis. So they will be answering questions like the things that I want them to know before we dig into Mendelian and non-Mendelian genetics. So some questions like, the main focus about the question is they really need to know that meiosis leads to genetic variation, and they need to know what is the difference between mitosis and meiosis, and why is meiosis important for us. Why is crossing over important for us, and why is meiosis required for survival of species? So these are the kind of questions that they will be answering after they learn about mitosis and meiosis. So after that, I will give them a lesson on karyotyping. So they will watch a video about karyotyping, and they will work on hand-in assignment after that. So in the video, they will be watching about or different kinds of genetic diseases that are related to chromosomal non-disjunction, and they will go over some of the examples as well. So they will work on a little hands-on activity. So I will show you what activity they will be working on. So this activity is about karyotype analysis, where students will be completing one of the karyotype that is given to them, and they will be finding what kind of disorder a person has. So for example, so let's say if they pick this activity right here, they will be arranging chromosomes according to the size, and then finishing karyotyping right here. And once they are done everything, so after they are done arranging everything, they will figure out what kind of condition it is. They will figure out whether it's a Down syndrome, Edwards syndrome, or Patau syndrome. And after that, they will answer questions related to the disease that they have the disease they have found after analyzing a karyotype, and then answer questions that follow. And and then they will submit that assignment for assessment. So after they are done learning about mitosis and meiosis, the next part that they will be learning is about Mendelian genetics. So I will begin by having them learning about history of Mendelian genetics, where they will learn about why Gregor Mendel is called father of genetics. And then they will watch a video about how to solve monohybrid crosses, and there is a practice assignment they will be working on, and then they'll click on answer key to check their answers. And once they're done practicing themselves, then I need to see how much they have understood. So I have created something like check your understanding questions for them. So they will work on this activity. So and this is something I will be able to see the results. So I'll just fill one of the questions for you to see. So for example, right here, like let's say last question, it's about filling Punnett squares. So let's say, in this box they will type in TT, and in this box it's capital T, small t, and I will make this box wrong on purpose to show what students will see if they get something wrong. So they will type in TT instead of capital T and small t, and then click submit. I haven't solved all the questions here, but just to give you an overview of what students will see. So when they submit everything, so let's just pretend that they answered every single question. So whatever questions they get right, they will have a check mark, and then they will get a cross for the question that they did not get right, and then they will get to see the solution as well, and they can retry, and then to get a hang of it. And I will instantly know what students know and what they need to focus again. So let's say if a student has done poorly on this check your understanding question, I can give them a mini lesson, reteach the lesson one-on-one, and give them more practice questions to work on before they go on to learn about dihybrid crosses. So after they are confident with working on check your understanding questions, then I will have them work on a gizmo activity where they will be handing in an assignment for marks. So after monohybrid crosses, they will learn about dihybrid crosses. So there's a video to watch, and I want them to know about Mendel's law of dominance, segregation, and independent assortment. So I pointed those things out. So these are the things I want them to know for sure. And these are the practice questions they will work on. And then there's answer key attached to it. They will check their own answer, and then they will work on practice questions. Again, these questions are not going to be for marks. This is for me to just collect formative assessment data to see where a student is at. So again, same kind of idea as monohybrid crosses. They will fill in answers, and then when they submit in the end, they will have answers for those questions as well. So after they are done learning about dihybrid crosses, they will move on to next section, which is going to be about human pedigrees. They will watch a video, work on a worksheet, and then there's answer key attached. They will check their answers, and then they will work on hand-in assignment. So this hand-in assignment is a small assignment. They're just 4 multiple choice questions that they will be working on, and it will be like a quick exit slip kind of assessment, rather than having them write going into more heavy form of assessment where they will have to write a lot, because I will be assessing them again on this topic when there's a final test. So this is a quick multiple choice questions they will be answering. And then when they are done learning about Mendelian genetics, I will have them write an exit slip. So this exit slip is something that I have learned about through the seminar. So this is called 3-2-1 exit slip. So this is more from the readings that I did for the seminar. And so there will be questions like, tell me 3 important parts of the lesson. And the 2 parts of the lesson I enjoyed most were, the one question I would like to ask is. So they will be kind of self-reflecting upon their learning, and I will know if they need help. And there's another question that I have asked, which is, how can your teacher improve this section? So if there's any part that they want me to the part that they want they wish that their teacher had done differently, they will have an opportunity, they will have a say in it, and then I will make sure that I include their feedback in my next lesson that I'm designing. Okay, so after the assessment map, I would like to talk about um, the different assessment strategies that I have learned through the seminar. So in the STF accreditation seminar, I learned assessment should be strength based, and opportunities should be given to students to show their learning in multiple ways. Um, I should plan to provide students with descriptive feedback to require revision or to fix and relearn from mistakes. So these were the big takeaways from the assessment list that was given in the seminar. How will I use this knowledge in my classroom? So I will be teaching Calculus 30, Pre-Cal 20, Pre-Cal 30, and Biology 30 next year. And the method of teaching is asynchronous. I'm planning to use portfolio with my students so that they have multiple ways to show their learning. It will also provide them opportunity to get feedback from me and fix their mistakes. Student will use I can statement to reflect upon their learning. Student will have a clear understanding of the learning goals and success criteria. Um, so they will be creating portfolio, and I will do weekly check-ins with my remote learners. They will use a piece of evidence. Example, they will show me a picture, a video, recorded conversation, manipulatives, image, online tool demonstration to show their learning. So this correlates with what I have learned in the seminar about relentless revision. So students will be invested in their learning. So whatever feedback that I'm providing them on their portfolio, they will have a chance to add the feedback to the portfolio, because they will be working on the portfolio from the start of the unit. So they will have my feedback, and then they are going to submit the portfolio at the end of the unit. So they will have a chance to make revisions and add my feedback to portfolio before I do summative assessment at the end of the unit. So when they make a portfolio, student will explain why they have chosen the evidence. So they will choose evidence such as I used to think this, but now I think this. So they will show their improvement, and they will also include things like this is my best thinking because. They will include notes about their work and making connections with real world. So if they're solving any math problem in their portfolio, they will show an example of how the stuff that they're learning in class relates to the real world. They will create a video of their hand doing a math questions and narrating their thought process, and add that video to the portfolio as well. So the portfolios will give me an opportunity to provide them feedback and respond to students. um, Here is an example of what portfolio will look like. So for example, for Calculus 30 class, a student can take a picture of the question that they worked on, and then put a picture, and then they will write three things that they want me to notice about that example. So, for example, in this case, the student has chosen that three things that they have compared the left hand side and right hand side limits, and so on. So, basically, they will pinpoint the three things that they want me to notice about the question. Um, the second example, and going back to the same example, and student will be really invested in their learning, because they are thoroughly explaining their thinking, their thought process. And here's the second example of what portfolio should look like. So they will be making connections with what they have learned in the classroom to their own life. So this is an example of a student feeling reflected. This is what I have learned in the seminar as well, that students should be feeling reflected. Say they can reflect upon their own culture. They can reflect upon what they use in their day-to-day life. So in this example, a student is making connection between what they have learned about area of a circle and how they will be applying that information to when they go to build their own pizza. So and next example is of This is example 3 of my portfolio. Um, and this is an example of a student feeling challenged. So again, they are, whatever they are learning, they are taking it to a higher level. So once they are done with the proficiency step of learning, so this is kind of an enrichment activity they will be working on. How does portfolio relate to STF seminar learning? So students are invested because student will be able to make connections between classroom learning and their own life. So their learning will be meaningful learning. There will be relentless revision. Student will go over their portfolio on weekly basis with me and include feedback in their portfolio before next meeting. And student have an opportunity to provide feedback on their learning as well. By using portfolio, students will be feeling reflected because they will be given a choice of how they want to present their learning, and they can make clear connections from the content to themselves. And they can read literature about kids living through a variety of circumstances. So whatever circumstances they are living in, they can reflect that in their piece of learning. Students understand their own learning habits, strengths, and weaknesses. So they will be able to reflect upon their strengths and weaknesses and identify their weaknesses and use strengths to work on their weaknesses as well. And by using portfolio, students will be challenged because they will be setting goals for themselves. They will be self regulating. Students talk about what challenge they found difficult and how they overcome or plan to overcome that challenge. They will get teachers' feedback. They will be giving their own feedback on their portfolio while they're talking with their teacher, and they can investigate further how and why of whatever they're working on. They will be able to ask questions in front of class, and they will have an opportunity for inquiry based learning. So one thing that I have learned about students feeling challenged is students should be encouraged to take their learning beyond textbooks. So they should be given an opportunity for inquiry based learning. So here is an example of inquiry based learning. So for outcome LE1, which is learning about scientific methods, student can actually do a lab activity and show their learning. So that is an example of inquiry based learning, and this is what the lab looks like. So student will be given some background about seed germination, and they will be asked to pick any variable they want to test about seed germination. They can pick light, temperature, soil type, air quality, water, and then they will write hypotheses, design an experiment, gather data, and publish their results. So this is a perfect example of inquiry based learning when you are teaching students about scientific method, which is outcome LE1 of the curriculum. Another example of student feeling invested, reflected, and challenged. This is outcome SDS1 of a biology 30. So they should be able to relate whatever they are learning to their real life, to whatever is happening in their real life. So this is an example of final biology project, which is SDS1 for Bio 30 students. So students will be so in this final project, student will be given resources to use. So they will watch video about what happens inside your body if you get coronavirus, an article to read about vaccine creation and safety. They will watch video about mRNA vaccines and how coronavirus is made in lab. And then they will get a little bit more information about COVID, how it works in your body, and how mRNA vaccines work. And after all that information is provided to the students, and again, they are also given some information about myths related to COVID. and they need to know which resources they should be using to get their information about COVID, and which resources are not valid. So they will be learning about that as well. So after I go through all that, they will be working on their final project, where they will be answering questions like, how a virus enters a cell, what happens after you become infected with a virus, how your body creates immunity to prevent future infection, the process involved of creating a vaccine, the link of the new vaccine to protein synthesis, the importance of vaccination and the need for herd immunity, the impact of the rise of the anti science movement, including anti vaxxers, and the deliberate spread of false information. So they will be able to apply all the information that they learned in the course to their real life. So in this way, student will be invested, they will be reflected, and they will be challenged as well. There are many benefits of feed forward assessment. So when students make portfolios, they will be given assessment. They can take feedback from their teachers that they can use it for their learning, which is going to be basically a next step for their learning. So there are many benefits of using feedback, or in our seminar we use the term feed forward, we didn't use the term feedback. So feed forward, it encourages students to reflect upon feedback provided by teacher. It helps promote dialogue between teacher and students, helps students to achieve goals set at the start of the unit. Um, and we did have a lot of talk about self assessments in the seminar. I learned that self assessments are important for students to become lifelong learners. Self reflections are different than self evaluation. I can incorporate self assessment by asking these questions from my students when they're working in class. So before the start of the unit, I can ask questions about, what do you think you will learn in this unit? What seems familiar about this unit? What is your goal for this unit? So they will be setting goals for themselves and they will be thinking about what steps they will need to take to meet this goal. And at the end of the unit, they will be reflecting upon whether they have meet their goal or not. They will answer questions like, what have you learned this unit? What did you meet your goal? If you met your goal, how did you meet it? If you did not meet your goal, what do you need to work on? So these are the questions that that students can use for self assessments. And again, self assessments are very different from self evaluation. So before coming to the seminar, I thought they were the same thing. I thought self assessment was just solving a math questions and checking your answers at the back of the textbook. So after the seminar, I learned they are totally different concepts. So self assessment is basically directing the student to set goals, work on it, and kind of assess their learning, and become lifelong learners. Another important thing that I learned in the seminar was using a system of communication to support student learning. Um, as I mentioned previously, I will be using portfolio as one of my source of communication with the student and with the student and a parent if needed. So there are many benefits of using system of communication, and in the seminar we I talked about benefits with my fellow participants in the seminar. So these are some of the things that came up in our discussions. So portfolio, they identify where the learning took place, offers valuable data about student improvement and learning, offers student choice in submitting meaningful pieces into portfolio, support evaluation, help for self assessment and student driven goal setting, celebrating success, making mistakes, and establishing next step forward. Email and parent phone calls are another method of communication I'm planning to use, and this is the method that I have been using before as well. During the seminar, my fellow participant and I identified these benefits of using phone and email. So it helps to build relationships between parent and teacher, alert parents and other support people when students are struggling, allow families and others to celebrate student success, provides a private mode of communication where parents and teachers may have a confidential discussion, more personal approach to communication than others, allows opportunities to discuss other challenges students may be facing outside of the classroom, allows parents and teachers to come up with next steps for student supports. Parents can hear directly from teachers about student strengths and weaknesses as well as observe peer interactions, provide provides a written record of parent and contact notes after phone calls. So in our school division, we do keep like a track of notes of parent phone call. We use OneNote where all the teachers are keeping track of all the phone calls that they make with their parents. And last but not the least, I learned from the seminar that it is very important for to make room for student voices. There should be um, there should be a balance of teacher assessing students, and students should have their own voice as well when it comes to assessments. And there are benefits of doing that, and there are some ways as a teacher I can include that in my teaching practice. So for example, I discuss ideas that are prominent in students' lives and incorporate in learning outcomes. Post questions on Jamboard or Padlet and have students respond anonymously. Ask students about their lives beyond classroom. Ask for student feedback and use it. And in Blackboard, I am using a journal entry where which only student and I can see it, and I ask questions like how can I improve this unit, and I make sure that I include all the feedback in my teaching.